Words are not mere sounds that fall upon the ears, nor fleeting expressions of passing frustrations. Words are the reflections of the mind, mirrors of the soul, and architects of our lives. Each complaint, each murmur of dissatisfaction carries weight. To whine is to surrender, to place the burden of our discontent upon the shoulders of the world. Yet no external force can bear the load of our choices. Whining is not harmless. It erodes strength, corrodes dignity, and blinds us to the immense power we hold within. Today we confront this habit that weakens the will and replace it with something infinitely greater: accountability. 2. The trap of complaints. Complaining is seductive. It offers the illusion of release, a temporary salve for the wounds of disappointment or frustration. But like a siren song, it lures us into dangerous waters where growth is stifled and progress grinds to a halt. Complaints often disguise themselves as harmless venting, yet they are far from innocent. Each word of complaint drags us further from solutions and deeper into stagnation. Why do we fall into this trap? Because it feels easier. It is easier to point fingers at the circumstances or at others than to turn the mirror inward. It is easier to bemoan our situation than to face it with courage and clarity. Complaining lets us feel momentarily justified, as though we have unburdened ourselves of some great weight. But that weight does not vanish. It lingers, doubling with every new grievance, tethering us to the very problems we seek to escape. Consider this truth: complaining shifts the focus outward, where we have little control. We complain about the weather, as if the skies would bend to our discontent. We grumble about people's behavior, as if our words could mold their character. We protest the hardships of life, as if life itself were meant to accommodate our desires. But does whining ever change these things? No, it does not. It merely amplifies our dissatisfaction and robs us of energy better spent elsewhere. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Complaining is the antithesis of this wisdom. It is an act of disempowerment, a refusal to claim the agency that resides within us. When we complain, we abdicate responsibility for our reactions, handing over our peace of mind to forces beyond our control. To escape the trap of complaints, we must first recognize it for what it is: a habit, not an inevitability. Habits can be broken, but only through conscious effort and discipline. The next time you feel the urge to complain, pause. Examine the thought. Ask yourself, what is this complaint doing for me? Is it moving me closer to a solution, or is it keeping me stuck? More often than not, you will find that the complaint serves no purpose other than to perpetuate a cycle of dissatisfaction. Instead, redirect your energy. If the situation is within your control, act. If it is beyond your control, accept. Action and acceptance are the twin antidotes to whining. They are the means by which we reclaim our power and break free from the paralysis of discontent. The trap of complaints is a subtle one, but its consequences are profound. Each time you resist the urge to whine, you take a step toward liberation. You strengthen your will, sharpen your focus, and align yourself with the wisdom of the Stoics. Remember, it is not the world that binds us, but our own minds. Free your mind from the habit of complaining, and you will discover a life of greater clarity, purpose, and strength. 3. Why we choose to whine. Whining is not a random act. It arises from deeper roots within the human psyche, born of fear, frustration, and above all, a desire for validation. To whine is to say, "Look at me," acknowledge my pain, my struggle, my dissatisfaction. It is an appeal for attention, a cry for someone else to share in our burden or to absolve us of the responsibility to face it alone. At its core, whining stems from avoidance. Life presents us with challenges, some trivial, others monumental, and in the face of these challenges our instincts may falter. Instead of confronting what is hard, we retreat into complaint, masking our hesitations with excuses. We choose to whine because it feels safer than admitting our own shortcomings or confronting the raw truth of reality. Another reason we whine is because of a misplaced sense of justice. We believe life should be fair, that our efforts should always yield results, that others should treat us as we desire. When reality deviates from these expectations, the impulse to complain emerges. But fairness is not promised, nor is it owed. The universe operates on its own terms, indifferent to our preferences. The Stoic knows this and understands that lamenting the unfairness of life does nothing to change it. We also choose to whine because it feels like action when we are unwilling to take real action. Complaining gives the illusion of addressing a problem without actually solving it. It allows us to externalize blame, to focus on what others should do differently, rather than examining how we might adapt or improve. In this way, whining becomes a shield against accountability, a way to protect the ego from the discomfort of self-reflection. But let us ask ourselves, what does whining achieve? Does it bring us closer to our goals, mend relationships, or resolve conflicts? Does it strengthen us in times of adversity or grant us wisdom in the face of uncertainty? No, whining does none of these things. It is a futile act, a diversion from the path of growth and resilience. Instead of choosing to whine, we must choose to rise. When confronted with difficulty, take a moment to reflect. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now and why? Am I seeking to complain because it is easier than acting? Am I afraid of what taking responsibility might demand of me? These questions pierce the veil of whining and reveal the truth beneath it. The Stoic path requires us to confront life's challenges head-on, to replace complaint with courage, avoidance with action, and illusion with clarity. Each time you resist the urge to whine, you reclaim your power. You affirm that your circumstances do not dictate your character, that you are not a victim of life but an active participant in it. Recognize why you whine, and you will uncover the key to breaking free from it. To complain is to remain bound by your limitations. To take ownership, even in the face of hardship, is to transcend them. This choice is yours to make, not tomorrow, not someday, but now. Whining is a habit of avoidance. Accountability is the path to mastery. Choose wisely. 4. The illusion of external blame. Blame is a seductive illusion. It provides a comforting narrative, one where the fault always lies outside ourselves. We blame the weather, the economy, our upbringing, our peers, even fate itself. This illusion allows us to deflect responsibility, to cast ourselves as victims of forces beyond our control. Yet in doing so, we chain ourselves to those very forces. To blame is to surrender. It is to relinquish the power we have over our own lives and place it in the hands of the external world. When we blame, we tell ourselves a story, one in which we are powerless, where change is impossible, and where our suffering is inevitable. This story, though comforting in its simplicity, is a lie. The truth is far more liberating, yet infinitely more challenging. We are responsible for how we respond to life, no matter what it throws at us. Epictetus taught that men are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them. This simple statement unravels the illusion of external blame. Events themselves are neutral. They carry no inherent meaning, no innate power to harm or benefit us. It is our interpretation, our judgment, that gives them weight. Blame arises when we fail to see this distinction. We attribute our struggles to the external, forgetting that our perception shapes our reality. Consider this: blaming others or circumstances does not resolve our problems. It does not mend a broken relationship, repair a mistake, or move us closer to our goals. Instead, it diverts our focus away from solutions and toward resentment. It fosters bitterness, not growth; weakness, not strength. The energy we expend on blame is energy stolen from the pursuit of wisdom, resilience, and action. Yet, the illusion of external blame persists because it offers an escape from discomfort. To take full responsibility for our lives is to confront hard truths. It is to admit our role in our own suffering, to recognize our failures, and to accept that we are the architects of our own fate. This is not easy. It demands humility, courage, and an unwavering commitment to self-improvement. But it is also the only path to true freedom. How then do we dispel the illusion of blame? First, by acknowledging it. When you catch yourself blaming another person, a circumstance, or even luck itself, pause. Reflect on what you are truly feeling. Is it frustration, fear, disappointment? These emotions are not caused by the external, they arise from within. Recognize that blaming the outside world will not ease them. Only by changing your perspective and actions can you find peace. Second, take ownership. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what can I do about this? This shift in mindset transforms obstacles into opportunities. It moves you from the role of a victim to that of a leader, from passivity to agency. You may not control the external world, but you control how you engage with it. Lastly, practice gratitude. Blame narrows our focus to what is wrong, obscuring what is right. Gratitude broadens our perspective, reminding us of the blessings that coexist with our struggles. It is difficult to indulge in blame when you are genuinely thankful for what you have. The illusion of external blame is a trap that ensnares the mind and weakens the spirit. To escape it requires vigilance, reflection, and a commitment to living with integrity. Blame seeks to rob us of our power. Responsibility restores it. Choose the latter and you will find not only freedom but the strength to shape your destiny, no matter the circumstances. 5. Accountability as a path to freedom. Accountability is often misunderstood. It is seen as a burden, a weight that forces us to own up to our mistakes and shortcomings. But in truth, accountability is not a chain that binds us. It is the key that sets us free. To take full responsibility for our lives is to liberate ourselves from the grip of circumstances, the whims of others, and the illusion of helplessness. Freedom, as the Stoics understood it, is not the absence of difficulty. It is the ability to navigate life's storms with clarity, purpose, and strength. Accountability is the foundation of this freedom, for it places the locus of control within ourselves. When we take responsibility for our actions, our choices, and even our reactions to the uncontrollable, we reclaim the power to shape our destiny. But why do we resist accountability? Because it is uncomfortable. To hold ourselves accountable is to face the truth, and the truth is often harsh. It means acknowledging our faults, admitting when we have fallen short, and confronting the ways in which we have contributed to our own struggles. It requires humility, courage, and the willingness to change, yet it is precisely this discomfort that makes accountability so transformative. Growth is born from challenge, and accountability is the greatest challenge of all. Imagine a person who blames the world for their failures. They point to unfair circumstances, difficult people, or bad luck as the reasons for their unhappiness. What they do not see is that in shifting blame outward, they are also surrendering control. They have tied their peace of mind to forces they cannot influence, and in doing so, they have trapped themselves in a cycle of frustration and despair. Now consider a person who takes full accountability. When they face failure, they do not waste time assigning blame. Instead, they ask, what can I learn from this? What could I have done differently? How can I move forward? This mindset is empowering. It transforms obstacles into lessons, mistakes into opportunities for growth, and setbacks into stepping stones towards success. The Stoics believed that freedom comes from within. Epictetus reminded us that while we cannot control external events, we can control how we respond to them. Accountability is the practice of taking ownership of that response. It is the recognition that while we may not choose our circumstances, we always choose our attitude and actions. This is the essence of freedom, the ability to act according to our principles rather than reacting out of fear, anger, or despair. How do we embrace accountability? First, by cultivating self-awareness. Pay attention to your thoughts, words, and actions. When something goes wrong, resist the urge to point fingers. Instead, ask yourself, what role did I play in this? What can I do differently next time? This practice requires honesty and humility, but it also builds strength and resilience. Second, let go of perfectionism. Accountability is not about being flawless, it is about being willing to learn and grow. Accept that you will make mistakes, but do not let those mistakes define you. Instead, use them as opportunities to become better. Third, align your actions with your values. True accountability means living with integrity, making choices that reflect your principles, even when it is difficult. When your actions align with your values, you live in harmony with yourself and the world around you. Accountability is not easy, but it is worth it. It is the path to freedom, not because it shields us from life's hardships, but because it empowers us to face them with courage and grace. When you take responsibility for your life, you free yourself from the chains of blame and excuses. You become the master of your fate, the architect of your future, and the author of your story. This is the freedom the Stoics spoke of, a freedom no external force can take away. 6. Owning your choices. Every decision we make, every action we take, shapes the course of our lives. Yet, how often do we pause to acknowledge that our choices, more than our circumstances, define who we are? Owning your choices is a cornerstone of Stoic living. It is the practice of recognizing that while you may not control every event in your life, you are always in control of how you respond. This ownership is not a burden, it is the greatest power you possess. Too often, people shy away from this truth. They look for ways to shift responsibility, to justify their actions with excuses or blame. They say, "I had no choice," or "I was forced into this." But these statements are falsehoods that weaken the soul. There is always a choice, even if the options are limited or difficult. To deny this is to deny your agency, to diminish the very essence of what it means to be human. Owning your choices begins with awareness. Every decision, no matter how small, is an opportunity to affirm your values and assert your character. From the words you speak to the habits you cultivate, each choice contributes to the life you are building. The Stoics believed that the quality of your life is determined not by what happens to you, but by the choices you make in response. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Consider this: when you take ownership of your choices, you reclaim control over your life. You stop being a passive participant and become an active architect of your destiny. This does not mean that every decision will be perfect or every outcome favorable. It means that you accept the responsibility to act with intention and integrity, regardless of the results. Why, then, do so many people resist this practice? Because it is uncomfortable to face the consequences of our decisions. It is easier to deflect blame onto others or external circumstances, but this comfort is fleeting and comes at a great cost. Each time you avoid owning your choices, you weaken your resolve, erode your self-respect, and distance yourself from the life you are capable of living. To own your choices is to embrace accountability not only for your actions but for their outcomes. It is to stand firm in the knowledge that your decisions, no matter how challenging, are yours to make. When you succeed, do so with the confidence that your efforts and values led you there. When you fail, you gain the humility and insight to learn and improve. The process of owning your choices requires discipline and reflection. Begin by examining the decisions you make each day. Are they aligned with your principles, or are they driven by impulse, fear, or convenience? When faced with a difficult choice, ask yourself, what is the right thing to do? What choice reflects my values and my character? These questions guide you toward clarity and purpose. Owning your choices also means accepting the consequences without complaint. Life is unpredictable, and even the wisest decisions can lead to unexpected challenges. When this happens, resist the urge to regret or resent. Instead, reflect on what the experience can teach you. Remember that the Stoic path is not about controlling outcomes, but mastering your responses. Finally, practice gratitude for the ability to choose. Even in the harshest circumstances, you retain the power to decide how you will think, act, and live. This is a gift, one that no external force can take away. By owning your choices, you honor this gift and affirm your freedom. To own your choices is to live with integrity and purpose. It is to accept that your life is a reflection of your decisions, not your circumstances. This practice is not easy, but it is transformative. It empowers you to navigate life's uncertainties with confidence and grace. In the end, your choices define you. Own them fully, and you will own your life. 7. The courage to face discomfort. Discomfort is an inevitable part of life. It greets us in moments of uncertainty, loss, failure, and change. Yet far too often we flee from it, seeking refuge in avoidance, excuses, and complaints. We treat discomfort as an enemy, something to be eradicated or ignored. But the Stoics understood a profound truth: discomfort is not the enemy. It is a teacher, a forge in which resilience and wisdom are shaped. To embrace accountability, you must cultivate the courage to face discomfort head-on. Why do we fear discomfort? Because it forces us to confront truths we would rather avoid. It exposes our vulnerabilities, challenges our assumptions, and tests our limits. Discomfort strips away the illusion of control and demands that we confront life as it truly is, not as we wish it to be. This is not an easy task, but it is a necessary one. Growth cannot occur without struggle, just as a blade cannot be sharpened without friction. The courage to face discomfort begins with a shift in perspective. Instead of viewing discomfort as a sign of failure or misfortune, see it as an opportunity. Each moment of discomfort carries within it the potential for growth. It is in the face of adversity that we discover our strength. It is through challenges that we refine our character and deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world. Epictetus taught, difficulties show a person's character. Therefore, when a difficulty falls upon you, remember that it is training and you should not complain. This mindset transforms discomfort from something to fear into something to embrace. When you encounter hardship, do not shy away from it. Instead, ask yourself, what is this experience teaching me? How can I use this challenge to become stronger and wiser? To face discomfort requires courage, but courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act in spite of fear. When you feel discomfort creeping in, whether in the form of self-doubt, criticism, or the weight of responsibility, acknowledge it. Do not deny your feelings or pretend they do not exist. Instead, let them sharpen your focus. Recognize that courage is built one moment at a time, each time you choose to persevere rather than retreat. Facing discomfort also demands patience. Growth is a gradual process, one that cannot be rushed. Just as a tree takes years to reach its full height, so too does character require time to develop. Be patient with yourself as you navigate discomfort. Accept that progress may be slow and that setbacks are part of the journey. What matters is not the pace of your progress, but the persistence of your effort. The Stoics also remind us that discomfort is often temporary, but the lessons it teaches can last a lifetime. Pain, fear, and uncertainty will pass, but the strength and resilience you gain from facing them will remain. Each time you confront discomfort with courage, you expand your capacity to handle life's challenges. You become less reactive, more focused, and more grounded in the face of adversity. How can you cultivate the courage to face discomfort? Start by stepping outside your comfort zone. Challenge yourself to take on tasks that stretch your abilities. Engage in honest self-reflection, even when it reveals uncomfortable truths. Practice gratitude for the lessons discomfort provides, even when they are hard to accept. Most importantly, remind yourself that discomfort is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of growth. The path to accountability, resilience, and mastery is paved with moments of discomfort. But these moments, difficult as they may be, are what shape us into the people we are meant to become. To face discomfort with courage is to embrace life in its entirety, the joys and the sorrows, the triumphs and the trials. It is to live fully without fear of what lies ahead. When you face discomfort with courage, you affirm your strength, honor your journey, and move closer to the wisdom of the Stoics. Let discomfort be your guide, and let courage lead the way. 8. Mastering the art of self-honesty. Self-honesty is one of the rarest and most difficult virtues to cultivate. It demands that you look within and confront yourself with unflinching clarity. It requires peeling away layers of self-deception, pride, and justification to see yourself as you truly are: your strengths, your weaknesses, your triumphs, and your failures. Yet, without self-honesty, accountability is impossible and growth is stunted. To embrace accountability fully, you must first master the art of being honest with yourself. Why is self-honesty so challenging? Because it is often painful. To admit our flaws, mistakes, and insecurities is used to run to our sequence of ourselves to vulnerability. It shatters the comforting illusions we build to shield ourselves from discomfort and casts a light on truths we would rather keep hidden. But while self-honesty may sting, it also liberates. It frees us from the chains of denial and opens the door to real change. The Stoics understood the value of self-honesty. Marcus Aurelius frequently wrote in his meditations as a way of examining his thoughts, actions, and motives. He did not write to impress others or to craft a polished narrative. He wrote to confront himself, to hold himself accountable, and to ensure that he lived in alignment with his principles. This practice of self-examination is a powerful tool for cultivating self-honesty. To master self-honesty, begin with reflection. Set aside time each day to evaluate your actions, thoughts, and decisions. Ask yourself, did I act according to my values today? Where did I fall short? What can I do better tomorrow? These questions may uncover uncomfortable truths, but they also illuminate the path forward. Reflection is not about dwelling on mistakes, but about learning from them. Self-honesty also requires humility. It is the willingness to admit that you do not have all the answers, that you are a work in progress, and that there is always room for improvement. Pride often stands in the way of self-honesty. It tempts us to defend our flaws rather than confront them, to justify our actions rather than take responsibility for them. Humility breaks down these barriers and allows us to see ourselves with clear eyes. Another essential component of self-honesty is the ability to distinguish between your true self and the expectations of others. Society, peers, and even family can impose pressures that distort your sense of who you are. To be honest with yourself, you must strip away these external influences and ask, what do I truly value? What kind of person do I want to be? This process requires courage, for it may lead you to make choices that defy convention or challenge the status quo. Self-honesty is not a one-time achievement, it is a lifelong practice. There will be moments when you fall into self-deception, when you avoid facing difficult truths or cling to comforting lies. When this happens, do not despair. Recognize it as part of the human experience and recommit to the practice of self-honesty. It is also important to approach self-honesty with compassion. Being honest with yourself does not mean harshly criticizing or berating yourself for your flaws. Instead, it means acknowledging your imperfections with kindness and a determination to improve. Treat yourself as you would a friend, someone you wish to support, guide, and uplift. Why is self-honesty so vital to accountability? Because without it, you cannot take responsibility for your actions. If you cannot admit your role in a mistake, how can you learn from it? If you cannot recognize your strengths and potential, how can you harness them to achieve your goals? Self-honesty is the foundation upon which accountability rests. When you practice self-honesty, you gain clarity, humility, and strength. You stop wasting energy on denial and defensiveness and instead direct it toward growth and action. You become more resilient in the face of challenges, more aligned with your values, and more at peace with yourself. Mastering self-honesty is not easy, but it is transformative. It allows you to face life with authenticity, integrity, and purpose. It is the first step toward true accountability and the foundation of a life well lived. In the words of Seneca, be your own judge and see yourself as you truly are. This is the art of self-honesty, the path to wisdom, and the mark of a Stoic. 9. The power of radical responsibility. Radical responsibility is not simply accepting blame for our mistakes or acknowledging the role we play in our own suffering. It is the bold, unwavering acknowledgement that we are the creators of our experiences. It is the realization that we have the power to shape our lives, not through the external circumstances that surround us, but through the choices we make and the way we respond to those circumstances. This is a profound and liberating truth, one that lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy. The world will always be unpredictable, full of obstacles, disappointments, and challenges. People will act in ways that are beyond our control, events will unfold in ways we cannot predict, and life will not always be fair. However, what remains under our dominion is our response. Radical responsibility lies in the ability to hold ourselves accountable not just for our actions, but for how we interpret and react to the world around us. Epictetus wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This statement encapsulates the essence of radical responsibility. We may not control the forces that shape our lives, but we control how we meet them. We control the meaning we assign to those events and the way we decide to act in response. Taking radical responsibility means eliminating the common habit of deflecting blame. It means no longer allowing ourselves to be at the mercy of external events, circumstances, or the actions of others. It is the conscious decision to take ownership of everything in our lives, the good, the bad, the beautiful, and the difficult. This is not an easy task, but it is a transformative one. The first step in embracing radical responsibility is to recognize that we are always at choice. We may not be able to control the events of our lives, but we always have the choice of how to respond. When faced with a challenge, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "How can I use this to grow? What can I learn from this situation? How can I take control of my reaction?" This shift in mindset is revolutionary. It moves us from a place of victimhood to one of empowerment. When we embrace radical responsibility, we stop waiting for others to change, for circumstances to improve, or for luck to turn in our favor. We begin to take action, to shape our environment, and to direct our energy toward the things we can control: our thoughts, our attitudes, and our responses. Radical responsibility is about owning the consequences of our actions, but it is also about owning our thoughts. We must take responsibility for the narratives we create in our minds. When we hold on to negative or limiting beliefs, we are reinforcing our own suffering. We have the power to choose new narratives, ones that empower us, ones that inspire action, resilience, and growth. One of the greatest obstacles to radical responsibility is the temptation to blame others. It is easy to point the finger and say, "If only they had done this differently, if only this circumstance had not occurred." But the Stoics knew that blame is a form of powerlessness. It surrenders control to others and robs us of our ability to act. Taking radical responsibility means refusing to blame anyone or anything outside of ourselves. Instead, we ask, "What can I control? What can I do to make this situation better?" Another common obstacle is the fear of failure. When we take radical responsibility for our lives, we also take responsibility for our mistakes and shortcomings. This can be intimidating, for it requires us to admit that we are not perfect, that we sometimes fall short. However, failure is not a reflection of our worth, it is a reflection of our growth. The Stoic sage understands that every mistake is an opportunity to learn, to improve, and to refine one's character. By taking responsibility for our mistakes, we grow stronger. Radical responsibility also requires us to step out of our comfort zones. It means no longer hiding behind excuses, rationalizations, or fears. It means facing the truth, even when it is uncomfortable. It means taking the risks necessary for growth, knowing that we are in charge of how we respond to whatever comes our way. To truly embrace radical responsibility, you must cultivate a mindset of proactive action. Instead of waiting for the world to change, make the changes yourself. If you want to be healthier, take responsibility for your diet and exercise. If you want to improve your relationships, take responsibility for your communication and your actions. If you want to become wiser, take responsibility for your learning and growth. Every area of your life can be transformed when you accept the power of radical responsibility. The power of radical responsibility is not only liberating, it is also empowering. When you recognize that you are the creator of your experience, you no longer feel at the mercy of the world. You realize that, no matter the obstacles you face, you have the strength and the ability to overcome them. This realization instills a deep sense of confidence and resilience, for you know that you hold the keys to your own success. Radical responsibility is the Stoic path to freedom. It is the recognition that you are in control of your life, no matter what happens around you. When you take full ownership of your thoughts, actions, and responses, you reclaim your power, your purpose, and your peace. Embrace this responsibility, and you will not only change your life, you will change the world around you. 10. The discipline of self-control. Self-control is the bedrock of a life lived with purpose, integrity, and clarity. Without it, we are slaves to our impulses, desires, and external circumstances. We drift from moment to moment, responding reactively rather than thoughtfully. The Stoics understood that true freedom comes not from the absence of constraints, but from the mastery of oneself. To embrace accountability and cultivate resilience, we must first master the discipline of self-control. At its core, self-control is the ability to choose our actions, regardless of the emotions or temptations that may arise. It is the practice of governing our desires, thoughts, and behaviors in alignment with our highest values and principles. It is not a suppression of our humanity, but a conscious redirection of our energy and will toward what serves us most, not what satisfies fleeting desires. Why is self-control so difficult? Because the world constantly bombards us with distractions and temptations. Everywhere we turn, there are forces urging us to indulge, to take the easy path, to seek pleasure without consideration of consequence. In these moments, it is easy to forget our higher purpose and lose sight of the long-term goals that require discipline. However, every time we give in to these impulses, we relinquish a small piece of our power. We trade our self-mastery for short-term gratification. The Stoics taught that self-control is not about denying ourselves what we want, but about aligning our desires with reason. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." This simple truth underscores the idea that self-control is ultimately about control over our thoughts and mental processes. When we exercise self-control, we are not only controlling our actions, but also the thoughts that drive those actions. To cultivate self-control, we must begin with awareness. Pay attention to the moments when you feel the urge to act impulsively. Are you reacting out of fear, anxiety, boredom, or a desire for validation? Ask yourself, is this action in alignment with my values? Will it bring me closer to the person I want to become? These questions shift your focus from the immediate temptation to the long-term vision of who you wish to be. Self-control also requires the practice of delayed gratification. In a world that prioritizes instant rewards, it can be hard to remember that the most meaningful and lasting achievements often take time. This principle is crucial in our pursuit of accountability. Every decision we make to delay gratification strengthens our self-control and brings us closer to our larger goals. Whether it's resisting the urge to procrastinate, choosing to work on a long-term project rather than indulging in fleeting entertainment, or choosing to exercise when our bodies crave rest, each act of self-discipline builds our character and resilience. The path to self-control is not without its challenges. There will be moments when your resolve will falter, when the temptation to act impulsively or reactively will seem overwhelming. When this happens, remember that self-control is not about perfection, it is about consistency. The goal is not to eliminate every weakness, but to become more aware of our tendencies and more skilled in managing them. One powerful technique the Stoics employed was visualization. Before embarking on any action, they would mentally prepare themselves for the challenges they might face. This could mean imagining the discomfort of resisting temptation or the internal struggle of choosing a difficult but righteous path. By visualizing these moments beforehand, they could face them with a calm mind, ready to exercise self-control when the moment arrived. Self-control also involves embracing discomfort. Many of the temptations we face are rooted in a desire to avoid discomfort. We seek food when we are bored, entertainment when we are anxious, or praise when we are insecure. But the Stoics understood that discomfort is not the enemy. It is a natural part of the human experience, and when we learn to face it with strength, we can transcend our impulses. Instead of running from discomfort, learn to embrace it as an opportunity to grow stronger. The next time you feel the urge to indulge in something that doesn't serve you, stop and ask yourself, can I sit with this discomfort? Can I choose to act in a way that aligns with my purpose, even if it is difficult? Mastery of self-control also means understanding the power of your environment. The people you spend time with, the media you consume, and the habits you cultivate all play a role in shaping your actions and mindset. Surround yourself with influences that support your values and goals. If you are striving to live a life of discipline and focus, limit distractions, and create spaces that encourage productivity and growth. Ultimately, the discipline of self-control is not about imposing rigid rules upon yourself, but about developing the wisdom to act in ways that honor your long-term well-being and goals. It is a dynamic practice that requires continuous effort, reflection, and adaptation. When we exercise self-control, we affirm our autonomy. We stop being slaves to our impulses and start living in alignment with our highest potential. In the end, the Stoics believed that true freedom comes not from the absence of constraints, but from the mastery of oneself. To master self-control is to reclaim your agency, your power, and your peace. When you act with discipline, you do not simply survive, you thrive. Every moment of self-control is an investment in your future, a future defined by clarity, purpose, and strength. Embrace this discipline, and you will find that you are capable of achieving far more than you ever imagined. 11. The wisdom of accepting what you cannot change. There are forces in life over which we have no control: the weather, the past, the actions of others, and even certain aspects of our own bodies. These things exist beyond our influence. Yet, despite this universal truth, many of us spend much of our lives resisting what we cannot change. We waste energy, frustration, and time in efforts to control the uncontrollable, to bend the world to our will. This struggle causes unnecessary suffering and prevents us from embracing the calm, steady purpose that Stoic wisdom offers. To live with grace, peace, and accountability, we must learn the wisdom of accepting what we cannot change. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, famously said, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not." This simple yet profound statement is the foundation of Stoic thought. To live virtuously, we must distinguish between what lies within our control and what does not. Only then can we focus our energy on those things we can influence, while letting go of the things we cannot. The acceptance of what is beyond our control does not signify passivity or indifference. It is not about surrendering to life's hardships in a way that leads to complacency or apathy. Rather, it is the recognition that peace comes from aligning ourselves with reality, not from attempting to force reality to conform to our desires. Acceptance is a powerful act of surrender, not to fate, but to wisdom. It is the conscious decision to release the tension, the worry, and the resistance to things that simply cannot be changed. One of the greatest sources of suffering comes from resisting what is inevitable. Change is a constant in life. People change, circumstances shift, and the world around us evolves. We cannot halt the passage of time, nor can we prevent others from choosing their paths. But so often we spend our time wishing things were different, hoping people would act differently, hoping events would unfold in a way that suits our desires. This is a recipe for frustration. The Stoics teach that true peace comes not from wishing things were different, but from accepting them as they are and choosing to respond in a way that aligns with our values. Acceptance, in this sense, is not about resignation. It is about intelligent action within the realms of our control. For example, you cannot change the fact that a storm is approaching, but you can prepare for it. You cannot control the actions of others, but you can control how you respond to them. You cannot undo the past, but you can shape your future by how you choose to act in the present. The wisdom of accepting what you cannot change also brings with it the peace of mind that comes from releasing burdens. Imagine for a moment trying to carry the weight of every injustice, every failure, every disappointment, and every unfulfilled desire on your shoulders. It would be an unbearable load. Yet, when we resist the natural flow of life, when we cling to what is beyond our control, we are doing just this. We are choosing to carry the weight of things that belong to the past or to others, and in doing so, we rob ourselves of the freedom to act in the present. To accept what you cannot change is to cultivate a sense of inner peace. This does not mean you become indifferent or differentiated from the world. On the contrary, it is in accepting what is beyond your control that you free yourself to engage fully with the world in a manner that is empowered, focused, and deliberate. You are no longer bound by the frustrations of the uncontrollable, but are free to direct your energy toward those things that truly matter, the things that you can shape and influence. The acceptance of the uncontrollable is also the key to resilience. Life will always present challenges, loss, illness, disappointment, or failure. These are inevitable parts of the human experience. But when we accept these realities as they are, without resistance, we fortify ourselves against their impact. We no longer see them as punishments or obstacles, but as opportunities to practice virtue, to grow stronger, and to deepen our understanding of ourselves. How can we cultivate this acceptance in our lives? First, we must develop mindfulness and awareness. Take time to reflect on the things you are holding on to: resentments, regrets, worries. Are they based on things that are beyond your control? If so, let them go. Recognize that the only power you have is over your own thoughts and actions. Everything else is outside your sphere of influence. By consciously releasing these burdens, you make room for clarity, peace, and purposeful action. Second, remember that acceptance is not a one-time decision, it is a continual practice. Every day you will encounter situations where you are confronted with the choice to resist or accept. Practice acceptance in small moments: when you are caught in traffic, when someone cuts you off in line, when things don't go as planned. Each small act of acceptance builds your resilience and your ability to respond to life with equanimity. Third, cultivate gratitude. When we accept what we cannot change, we make space to appreciate what we have. Gratitude is a powerful tool that shifts our focus away from what is lacking or what is beyond our reach and toward what we have the power to enjoy and appreciate in the present moment. It grounds us in the now, in the richness of the life we are living, regardless of the external circumstances. Finally, practice patience. Accepting what you cannot change requires patience with both yourself and the world. The desire for immediate solutions, the frustration when things don't go our way, the impatience with the slow pace of progress, these are all signs of resistance. Patience allows us to navigate the natural rhythms of life with grace and wisdom, to endure hardship with courage, and to respond to challenges with composure. To accept what you cannot change is not to surrender to a life of mediocrity or to become passive in the face of adversity. It is to acknowledge the limits of your power and to focus on the things that lie within your control. It is a profound act of wisdom and strength. When you accept reality as it is, without resistance, you create space for growth, resilience, and peace. You free yourself from the tyranny of frustration and open the door to living a life of purpose and clarity. This is the Stoic way, the path of wisdom, acceptance, and true freedom.